This is the walkthrough video for the 2023 Forest River Sunseeker 2860 DS. Starting with the tire pressures, they should be 75 psi in the front and 80 in the rear. There's a sticker in the driver door for a reminder. This is the little side camera here that is in the monitor in the dash. The propane tank is located first. There's no lock for safety. Just one full rotation to open up the propane tank. It does get filled up by a propane technician at a gas station with the propane fill, not that you drive up to, not like the weight one. There is a level indicator here for the propane tank. This is as full as it could be for the first time. There's an electronic reading inside the entry door on the control panel. Just a small storage compartment. So it is best to lock all the storage compartments before you start driving. So the entry door has two keys. The black oval key works in both of these locks. It is safest to use the deadbolt whenever possible. So this is your entry door key here. You have your lock, unlock, and panic button for the cab, the Ford ignition key. These little silver keys that say CH751 are for the storage compartments. The flat side of the key goes on the bubble side of the lock. These little gray, light gray handled keys are for the little safe that's in the step here. Also just inside the step are the two house batteries. And they are controlled by the battery disconnect here. So there's on to use and to charge the batteries, off, and then the actuator is a safety if you are having electrical work done. The actuator position is just a check to make sure that you won't be electrocuted by the batteries. This is a fuse and fuse breaker section in here. It's best to be left alone. There's the leveling jacks. Come back to these. The controller for the solar panel. So so it just cycles through the specs there and let you know how full the battery is and what the voltage is at for both of the batteries. The batteries do charge 4 ways. So you have the solar panel on the roof that's kind of always charging or trickle charging. When you're plugged into shore power at the back at your 30 amp connection, the generator, and when you're driving as well. So those are the 4 ways to top up the battery. These are furnace ducts here. They're floor level. AC ducts are all through the ceiling. These 2 light switches here are for the outside lights. So you have the awning strip lighting and then the patio light underneath there. So that's the, oops, I can see. So the awning control is here. This button will not operate if the key's in the ignition, just as a safety feature. That way you don't open the awning as you're driving. It does, so you basically you press extend until it goes all the way out and you see the aluminum tube roll at the end. When the awning is out, there is this sticker here, pull down to adjust pitch. So if you want to tilt it down on one side for rain or sun is coming down on one side more than the other, you can just simply pull down that arm and it will tilt it down on one side. You can adjust it back straight before you put use the retract button, or you can leave it that way. It just might help keep some wrinkles out if you make it straight first. This is a 12 volt motion light, and then the other furnace duct. So I'll come back around to the entry door again. We'll just go around the outside items first. This is the emergency roadside phone number for Safe Ride. If you run into any issues on the road, they will help find nearest service and a technical support if you have any questions, how to use something, or send out a mobile technician if they can. This is the back end of the furnace, so that's an exhaust there. Got a couple outlets. They are all part of the GFI in the bathroom if you have any issues with the outlets. We've got outside speakers there. Run off the TV remote. Let's see, yeah, there are dualies. There's a separate valve for them in there. So just inside this compartment here, you have the airbag fill. So the airbags will be set to 80 psi when you leave here. They go between 0 and 100. It's best not to leave them empty at 0 or burst them at 100. They're about 6 inches tall when they're full, so they fill up really quickly, and they also deplete very quickly when you use the air pressure check on it. You check them the same time that you check your tire pressures, so that's weekly or at the start of every trip. So just inside this little compartment here, you see the water filter housing. Right now it's filled with antifreeze, so it's got a pink hue to it. There is a white wrench and a water filter inside that I will show you. There's a little black cap sitting there, and that is for the little drain hole in the bottom. That's if you're basically, if you open up the water filter, it's very likely that you're going to spill because it is completely full of water or antifreeze, or otherwise you can clean out this compartment. These compartments are made of a plastic fiberglass material called rotocast, so they are washable. This blue PEX line that's running down here, the valve is open right now because it's running up and down. You would turn that to close it to hold water in the freshwater tank. So the freshwater fill is on the other side of the tank, on the other side of the motorhome at the bedroom slide. So if you wanted to empty the water out of the freshwater tank, so say it's full of water for a trip, but you want to empty out the tank or lighten it a little bit so you're not carrying as much weight as you're driving, you can just turn this and it will let some of the water out. Just clean water, just go straight out to the ground. So I'll show you from underneath. It's right behind that red one. There's the blue line there, so just go straight outside. The red PEX line is a drain for the water heater. So then, continuing, this is a, so right here, there's a cap on this line, and it's a part of the hose for winterizing. So you can connect the hose that's coiled up in the back and into a jug of antifreeze. You would turn that little PEX, the little valve there, and it will turn on the water pump and you can pump antifreeze throughout the unit. And then the water pump itself is just that little silver item there. Continuing, we'll open up the outside kitchen. Alright, so there's a little control panel here. So you can turn on the fridge with this button. It supplies power to it. It is 12 volts, so the battery runs off of the fridge runs off of the house battery. This lets you know how full the gray tank is, or the galley gray tank. There is another reading inside on the control panel as well. This sink has its own tank, its own holding tank that runs outside, and its own separate sewer outlet. Right, so that's actually the tank right there, the black one. So then just the fridge. So pretty simple, just has a temperature control. The induction cooktop needs to be plugged in underneath the cabinet here when you're using it. Has a little light, and then the frying pan is inside the cabinet there. Right. So the TVs all run off of 12 volt, so we'll have them on for you inside.
And made delicious. Can I just...
So continuing with the pass-through storage compartment. So just have a little light there. Need little blind spot radar, so the little lights inside on the dash pillars will light up if there is someone in the lane beside you. If you have your blinker on at the same time, it will alarm. So there's no ladder to get up onto the back, but that doesn't mean the roof doesn't need to be inspected. So the roof should be inspected at least twice a year. Spring and fall is what we recommend, and you can have them part of your services for dewinterizing and winterizing. The roof should also be cleaned when you clean the exterior. So they do recommend monthly for cleaning, or for sure at the end of every trip. The seals should be checked as part of the winterizing and dewinterizing. That means going around and checking that there's no cracks in any of the caulking or sealant up there, and it should be replaced if there is any cracks. So we see the backup camera is in the tail light, the center tail light there. The tag right here is for the connection for your propane for barbecue. So it's just got a little valve switch on it. There's a 7,500 pound tow hitch that it can pull. 750 pounds can sit on top of the hitch, and it's got a 7-pin connector if you're towing with electric brakes. The spare tire is mounted up underneath. License plate will go there. And coming around the sides, the slides are out at the moment. Okay. So this is just the other side of that compartment that we saw pass through. This is the connection for, like the coax connection for cable TV. So if there's a cable connection at your campground, you can watch cable TV inside. This is a 30 amp shore power connection. We have an adapter down to 15 just simply for charging. You wouldn't want to use the AC or 2 items at once with just this 15 amp. Such as like you wouldn't want to run like a hairdryer and a kettle is what I mean by that. This is the freshwater fill. It says potable water only. So you can use like a cutoff end of a hose or a special fitting of a hose to go in here and just kind of shove it in a few inches. And that way the water will go straight down. You can watch the level indicator on the control panel to see how full the tank is as you're filling it up. So this compartment here, so you just have this little latch. You need to make sure that you have this compartment door closed before you close the slide. So if you've had it open for using the sewer connections, you just need to make sure that this is closed before you decide to close the bedroom slide. So in here we've got the other side of the airbag suspension. So you would make them equal unless you had noticeably more weight on one side than the other. You have an outside shower, so that means you can rinse out your sewer hose. So we do supply the sewer and water hoses. They will be inside under the dinette. This is a little cutout here, so you can bring your sewer hose up through this hole. You twist off this cap and twist on your sewer hose. You always pull your black tank valve first, so you pull it out, let all the water empty out, close the valve, and then you pull the gray tank and let it all empty out. So you do it in that order. That way the gray tank sort of from your sink waters and sink and shower kind of rinses out the hose. This is a black tank flush. So what this one does is cleans out your black tank. If it's kind of smelly after you've emptied it, or at the end of the season, you can use this as well. So you would have your sewer hose all connected on the ground of the dump station. You have the black tank valve open. Right now it's closed. It would be open. You have your water hose on, and then it will rinse out the tank. This is the city water connection. So this is the surged water at your campground that goes straight to the faucets. So you hook up the water hose here, and the water goes straight to the faucets. You do not use the water pump for this one. When you're accessing water from the freshwater tank, you need to use the water pump, but not when you are connected here. This is just a little light. We're using this area at nighttime, and there's another light up there. That is on the control panel. It's called driver's side rear light. So that's to be used at night as well. Okay, so just make sure to close that. This is the back end of the water heater. Right. So they do have instructions on here if you need anything. They talk about gallons per hour. Mainly we use the switches inside on the control panel for electric and propane. And then this one has the reset buttons if it's not functioning for some reason. A couple smaller storage compartments and then the generator. So the garage door needs to be opened to operate this. So I can't open it at the moment, or I can't turn it on at the moment. I'm just going to unlock it. So the generator runs off of the engine gas tank. It's set at 1/4 of the tank so that you have time to get to a gas station. So the generator has a rocker switch to start it. You have a stop that you would hold it down for a few seconds, or prime to prime the engine. So hold it down for a few seconds and then hold it on the start side for up to 10 seconds until the red light comes on. If you're running the generator and it's not providing any power, there is a small little breaker switch down here. It's very dark. It's just on the side here. It's kind of got a little loop on it. There. That's if your outlets and those sort of things are not providing any power, you'd want to check the breaker on there. The yellow cap is for the oil check. It does require its first oil change at 50 hours, then at 100, and every 100 hours following. This is the exhaust for the generator, and it sticks out a little bit from the fiberglass just to make sure that it does not melt it. We have the other blind spot camera here, and then the driver door. So just in here are your tire pressures again, 75 psi in the front and 80 in the rear. Okay. This is the emergency start button. So this uses the house battery to start up the engine battery in case it went flat for some reason. So to use that, you would want to turn your house battery on at the front. So that's using the big battery disconnect that I showed you at the very beginning. Then you want to use the control panel to go check the battery level. If it's not at full, you'll want to run the generator to help top up the battery. And then you will hold this button down and then turn the key over. Give it a long turn and then try it again if it doesn't start up right away. The parking brake is here. So this is the release back from here and press down there. A parking brake is required for the slide outs. So when you park, you'll need to be using that. The headlights are here, so right now they're off, or you can use automatic. The power mirror settings are here, so you turn it to the side and then use the arrows. This red switch is for heat on the mirrors, so if the mirrors are icy, you can defrost them with the red switch there. So I'll come back to the entry door and go over the items inside. So just coming in the entry door, this is the control panel. So first, your level indicators are up in the top left. Propane is as full as it can be, as we saw outside, just right near the full indicator. Battery is full. We're plugged in at the shore power, so it would fall straight as full regardless of what the actual charge was. Fresh, black, and gray waters are all empty because the unit is winterized. The generator start is the same inside. It is more ideal if you haven't run the generator in a few months to get a direct prime from the generator itself. Otherwise, you hold it down on prime for a few seconds until the red gen light turns on, and then hold it on the start side for up to 10 seconds. If it doesn't start up, then you'll want to redo that again. Just give it a minute break and then prime again. The water heater is electric or propane or a combination of the two if both power sources are available. That's how you're going to get the fastest hot water, is using both buttons. The water pump is right here, so this runs on 12 volt power. It is not recommended to have the water pump on while the vehicle is in motion. It just has to do with all the vibrations, and it's not necessary as you're moving on the road for it to be on full time. The Arctic package, these are 12 volt heating pads on the holding tanks. So these heaters run on battery, and you can turn the switch on at 10 degrees Celsius. They'll turn on as they need to and off once they have warmed up. They're basically a backup plan to the furnace. So the furnace ducts are located to the black and gray tanks as well, but it's just an additional heating source, and it's recommended. It's rated until -10, I should say. If you feel uncomfortable that there's a chance it could be freezing, then it is our recommendation that you would get the motorhome winterized at that point, and not be having water, because the water in between the lines of the tanks has a possibility to freeze and cause damage. Then the two black switches there are light switches for the living room and kitchen. Have the slide out control, so it's got a little message there for the engine to be running and parking brake to be set. So the like it says there, parking brake on, engine running to operate the slides. When you're operating them, so you'll press and hold the out button until the trim meets up with the wall. You want to make sure that there's nothing outside that the slides would run into, no trees or anything like that before you put the slides out, and that the leveling jacks are down first before the slides go out. When you bring the slide in, you want to make sure that the driver's seat is tilted forward and that the floor is clear of debris, so sweep the floor before you bring the slide in. And also that there's not too much weight on the slides, like as you're operating them, retracting or extending, that there's not like a heavy box sitting on the couch or something like that. The bedroom slide has its slide out control in there. I'll get to that. Just the last thing on the control panel is the driver's side rear light. So that's the one that's over the dump station for using it at nighttime. The fridge is 10 cubic feet and it runs on 12 volt power. It has this little bar that it's got a lot of uses. So right now this is to be able to use it. It's got the settings in here. Right now it's on temperature 3, and you press and hold the set button to turn it off. So automatically when you have the house battery on down there, it will turn the fridge on. So if you didn't mean to, make sure you turn it off. It's got the freezer setting as cold and colder up in the top. So this bar, basically you set it onto the side here, and it will keep it from opening as you're driving. And it can also be used to keep it from closing all the way. So when it's in that position, that's defrosting. So you've parked the motorhome in storage, you're not using it anymore. You'll turn off the fridge, holding the off button for 10 seconds, and then switch the bar over that way, and it will keep the door from closing and keep mold from growing. Okay. So in the kitchen area, it's just got the battery charger for your phone, if your phone can wirelessly charge. The microwave convection oven, it has a convection setting here, and then your temperature settings, like number 8 is 355. For the stovetop, it has this blue light here, so you press that in to get power for the ignition, and then you'll simply just press it in and turn to the temperature setting that you like. Just be sure that the glass cover is back before you turn on the stove, because the stove, like the glass will shatter if the stove is turned on while the glass is down. So that's something that I recommend you tell your guests if you have someone who's staying with you. But to make the sofa into a bed, there is a bar up underneath here. It's just about an inch and a half back to get to the bar. You lift it up, pull it out, and it will make the sofa into a bed. You've got the charging station here, so there's 2 USB ports, and then mesh netting to hold your device while it's charging or to hold TV remotes. So the TV is up in the front. It's got the sound bar built into the TV. It runs on 12 volts again, like I said earlier. So you can tilt it to one side. So there you go, on radio. So this is the WineGuard antenna. It is a TV channel and radio channel, as well as a Wi-Fi router, all in one. This area is set up for a Blu-ray or DVD player if you'd like to add it for the living room TV. So it's already wired from the back of the TV to here for that HDMI or the coax in. We've got the TV remote right here for you. So underneath the dinette at the moment, I just have the power cord. The cables will be in there. The adapter for 15 to 30 amp will be in here, as well as the sewer hose and water hose. This is a water filter for the water filter housing that we saw in one of the first compartments there. It's got a wrench for it hiding too. All the manuals are inside this packet. So just quick open it up. We have the other 2 TV remotes. The other remotes as well for the backup camera and the dash stereo remote. So those are all the remotes. This piece of fabric here is your privacy curtain. So what it does, the Velcro goes on these little dots here and all the way around and just kind of slaps up there, and that way no one can see what you're doing inside. This is the Fantastic fan or Max Air fan. It's your 12 volt fan. It's got 4 power settings and then off. I'll spin it around for you. So you do pull down on that knob to unlock it and then twist to open. It does have a roof cover on it, so it can be down in the rain or when you're driving, but the other fans, the bathroom and bedroom fan, cannot be open when you're driving. Okay, so that's the main AC here. Right now this is closed so that it will go through the vents in the ceiling. When this is open, it does a blast cool, so most of the air will come down through there. These vents, they can spin around just very, very gently. It's got an arrow there as well. I'm going to start up the generator. It's that red light. So we'll know that the power has transferred when the microwave beeps, but it's already plugged in, so it will false read as full regardless. So this is the thermostat back here. A little closer. Mode is going to cycle through AC and the fan and heat modes. Alright, so furnace uses propane, so that'll click through propane and battery combination. Battery for the brains to know what temperature it is, and propane to produce the heat. the furnace will warm up through the floor, so we'll hear these kicking over shortly. You can hear the air. Okay, so you can adjust the temperature. You can set the fan speed. If you set it to on, it uses the AC fan, as you can hear. Auto will turn that off. Mode. So cool is for AC, that's why I have the generator running. Okay. Set the fan speeds again. Heat pump, yeah, you use that around 10 degrees. That uses the AC fan as to use the warm air from outside to cycle it through the interior. It is a bit cooler though, and it causes like a lot of the whirring sound, so just it's up to your preference if you'd like to use it. So you can use a combo if you're using it for warmth, and continue to cycle that button to off. Okay, so turn off the AC, or sorry, the generator. So the generator is very loud. All right, and I'll be back. I'm just gonna quickly run the stove burners. So high, we got the one in the back there, and you can adjust the temperature. Adjust the temperature again. And the third one. Oops, press in. There we go. So turn that off. And when you're using the stove, you can use the fan up in the top and open some windows. For a remainder of the items, every time you go to a new location, you need to scan for channels on each of the TVs. So you'll go to menu, channel, auto scan, and say yes. If you have a cable plugged into the coax cable outside, you would select cable at this position instead of air. Alright. And for the main TV source, we'll go through your tuner settings to use it as a radio. Turn it off. The main breaker and fuse panels are at the foot of the bed here. There's a little bit of storage beside. Alright, so GFI breaker in the bathroom, so where that green light is. And quickly too, before I get too far, these items, so the carbon monoxide detector is down in the corner here. If the battery for some reason is very low, the carbon monoxide detector will alarm because it runs on 12 volt. It's not sure if there's something to panic about, so it will alarm. The 4 screws on this false panel here lead to the back end of the water heater for winterizing. So you can see the valves from here. These are the 3 valves at the back of the water heater. It's currently in winterized mode, and they need to be all switched over to be de-winterized once you've followed the instructions. Heading to the front. Just turn the key over. So 585 kilometers, what shows in the center there. That's where the mileage will be starting from for the warranty. The parking brake light is on there. Battery and engine, just because I haven't turned the key all the way over. And the mileage looks a little wonky because we have been running the engine for operating the slides and things. It's not moving. And on the steering wheel here, you have things like your cruise control. Your monitor shows the backup camera. The V buttons here will cycle through the 3 cameras. Alright, or you can set it for all 3 at once. It's the dash stereo Got a glare from the dining light, sorry. So you have your radio settings. You can press and hold to save a preset. Sirius XM. So the radio itself is ready for Sirius XM. You would need to install a tuner and antenna to be able to use that function. It does have Bluetooth audio, so you can use the USB port to plug in your phone or just Bluetooth to connect it. If your phone has Bluetooth and you have a Sirius XM, you can use that app instead of using the radio for Sirius. It has a phone setting, so the little microphone is up in the top at the pillar here. The rear camera is not set up for this monitor because it is above. And then you just have the USB setting if you were using music in there, and the settings to change, like to connect your phone, things like that. Okay, volume. All right. Temperature controls, flashers, Type-C and USB charging, traction control off for the vehicle if there's a situation that you needed to do that. You have 12-volt plug for charging here. This little USB stick has Forest River manuals on it. And the other items, so these are the lane assist, the blind spot radar, so they will light up if someone is in the lane beside you. They will beep if someone's in the lane beside you and your blinker is on at the same time. Yeah. So that pretty much covers it. If you have any questions, please let us know and we are happy to answer them.